What's going on, everyone? Week 8 of the college football season here, hanging out with Cole Cubelic. He might have not gotten the memo. It's not No Shave November just yet, but I like the 5 o'clock shadow. It is almost 5 o'clock here at the AL.com offices. Cole Cubelic, our SEC insider this week. He's with the SEC Network. He is also with Three Man Front on WJOX. Check him out. He's got lots of opinions. He's got lots of analysis. He's got lots of awesomeness. I love him. Okay, so we're going to talk about the SEC title race. But before we get started with that, biggest surprise this season, if you take the SEC as a whole, what is your biggest surprise now that we're 8 weeks into the season?
I think it has to be Auburn at 4-3. And we all knew that the offensive line needed some work and was going to be a group that they had to sort of work around a little bit earlier in the season. But you figured with Jarrett Stidham returning, the wide receiver core that was back, and a championship-level defense that they would still be in the mix right now. And as Gus Malzahn said in his press conference today, Auburn has been eliminated from any type of championship that they could potentially win this season. That, to me, the biggest surprise in the SEC.
Big surprise for me, Kentucky still in the title race as of right now. We actually have 5 teams in the SEC that essentially control their own destiny. So my question for you will go down the list, the good and the bad with each team. And I know this is hard because there's a lot to cram in there, but we'll start with Alabama.
Okay.
What is the biggest strength and the biggest weakness you see right now?
The biggest strength for Alabama right now is that this may be the most difficult offense to defend in the history of college football. I'm not ready to say they're the best offense yet. They're not 2008 Florida, they're not 2005 USC or 2010 Auburn or 96 Florida or 95 Nebraska. But when you look at the fact that they can go too tight, they can go too back, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers, they have 2 quarterbacks that can play with different skill sets. They run read option through the run game, they run RPO through the pass game. It is literally impossible to find time to be able to defend everything that they can throw at you. And then you see 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time. Jalen Hurts takes a jet sweep, bootlegs out, and throws a pass to the back out of the backfield. There's just too much. There's too much to realistically prepare for and defend. Oh, and by the way, they're probably better than you at every position across the board on offense with a good offensive line and good running backs, so that helps. The biggest concern for Alabama, I think right now, has to be Tua's health, because I think they are different teams with and without Tua. With Tua, they're Superman. You have to go to some random planet and find some magical gemstone to be able to bring back and potentially find a way to stop them. Without Tua and with Jalen, I think they're more Batman. So they're actually human, but they have all these toys and gadgets around them that they can play with and they can use as firepower to try to take out any other opponent, but they're still human and they can potentially be defeated. So 2 different teams with those 2 quarterbacks, the biggest strength and weakness I see from Alabama.
All right, what about Georgia?
For Georgia, I think right now it's health. They're pretty banged up. They're banged up along the offensive line. And I don't know, I think that's a group that they planned on leaning on over the course of the season.
Yep.
They're also very different along the defensive line. That's a concern for me as well. They're not as big, they're not as bulky. They're just not the same up front. Now, the back end of the defense is elite. Very fast, very athletic, and can make plays. But they're also going to be dealing with a bit of a quarterback controversy down the stretch. So my biggest concerns will be the health and what are they going to do at quarterback down the stretch.
Okay, biggest positive.
Biggest positive is they have talent and they have playmakers and they can spread you out and they can use high percentage throws offensively, make life easy on whoever is at quarterback, and still generate explosive plays. Hardman, Swift, Holyfield, they have guys all over the place. Ridley can make plays on the outside. They have 2 quality tight ends in Charlie Werner and Isaac Nada. There are a lot of weapons there still to play with. Figure out the offensive line and quarterback, you got a lot of guys that can help.
Okay, LSU gets the upset over Georgia this past weekend. They took a loss to Florida. What do you see the biggest upside and downside for this LSU team as Alabama gets them in just a couple weeks?
The biggest downside, probably depth. They're not a deep football team, and they've been fortunate not having a lot of big injuries early in the season. The other thing that I may say is they don't have a takeover guy on offense. They don't have someone that they just know, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8, we're throwing him the football. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, we're giving him the football in the backfield. They don't have that guy offensively. Now, I love their scheme, and I love how they're utilizing and protecting their quarterback, but they just don't have a dude that you know is going to take over a game at any moment offensively. The biggest strength for LSU, playing elite defense and physicality. They won the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball against Georgia. They are a line of scrimmage team. They know exactly who they are, and they have elite players at every level of that defense, and they can cover on the outside. So that allows Dave Aranda to mix and match his numbers. Does he want extra guys on the back end in coverage? Does he want to bring guys up in blitz or maybe play the run? makes it really difficult to scheme against what LSU is going to do defensively because they can play multiple styles.
Okay, another team, I said it before, a bit of a surprise for us, Florida. Just your biggest takeaways thus far through 8 weeks of the season.
Biggest strength, defense. Super athletic, super fast. They can get to the quarterback without having to blitz. They have the best group of edge players on defense than anybody in the nation. C.C. Jefferson, Ja'Kai Polite are playing excellent football. Jabari Zuniga on the other side. They have legit pass rushers everywhere on that defensive line. T.J. Slayton's playing good ball inside. Joseph and Reese at linebacker playing good ball. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson lines up all over the field. He can cover, he can tackle, he can blitz. That defense is playing really, really good football, and I think they're aggressive, they attack, and they're fast, so they're a handful to deal with. Now, offensively, the offensive line hadn't come around yet, and Felipe Franks doesn't make big plays, but he is sort of understanding what that offense is. So, offensively, can they keep the consistency rolling would probably be my biggest concern.
Okay, and then we said Kentucky, big surprise. They lost to Texas A&M. Still only a one-loss team, can still control their own destiny in this one, potentially a playoff hope. Just overall, what is your biggest takeaway from this team and their overall body of work?
My biggest positive for Kentucky, two things. Number one, they are not a fraudulent football team. They know exactly who they are. They don't go out and try to be something that they're not or they can't be on any given week.
Love you.
They have two takeover players on that team. Josh Allen can take over a game on defense. Benny Snell can take over a game on offense. So when you can lean on guys like that, it makes it a lot easier to do other things. Biggest concern, probably if they need their quarterback to go win a game, I'm not sure if Terry Wilson's ready to do that just yet. And they got a couple big games coming up against Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Georgia. If they get in a position where Terry Wilson is forced to go win one of those games, that could be problematic for them.
All right, sounds good. My biggest pro today, Cole Cubelic, coming to hang out with us here at AL.com. This video was brought to you by Caliber, a luxury store in Homewood, Alabama that's reviving the finer things in hunting and fishing.